right. To be mindful of everyone's time, is everyone able to hear me?
We can, sir.
Yes.
Okay. To be mindful of everyone's time, why don't we go ahead and get started? And if we could, I know this is a little awkward with me being a few hundred miles away, but I think it might be a good way to begin by just going around and introducing ourselves. I know a number of you already know each other, but I think it's always a good idea to get familiar. I'm gonna be a little biased here and start online. So Harold, if you don't mind, would you like to introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Green HQ.
My name is Harold Taylor. I live in Columbia, Tennessee. I'm a real estate agent and doing a little wholesaling.
Nice. You're not far. Columbia's not far. No. 40 minutes.
I'm Mark LaPera. I'm in Fort Myers, Florida, with a group of investors down here. We're all listening in too, so go to town, guys.
Good to hear your voice, Mark. All right, why don't we go ahead and work our way around the room? If we can have the gentleman next to the podium in the dark sweater, if you don't mind beginning.
Peter Johnston with Legal Shield Business Solutions. Work with small businesses providing legal and business solutions to help them protect and grow their business.
I'm Jay Wasak, and I run a digital marketing company designed to get specific niches, new customers using Facebook and Google AdWords.
Give us 2 niches.
Real estate and mortgage lenders.
Okay. All right.
Hi, my name is Keith Ratham with Supporting Strategies. I outsource bookkeeping with small businesses. So we help manage their back office. So we help them get through all that stuff so they can focus on the front of their business.
Joe Graves, owner of I Hate Buying Insurance, just an insurance agency. So of course this group, the brick and mortar stuff from investors, flippers. We'd love to do some shopping centers or commercial buildings. Those are always fun to do. So I Hate Buying Insurance, Joe Graves.
I'm Stephanie Paha, a realtor with Exit Realty.
Dave Grodi, network engineer with Windstream Communications. I'm here primarily supporting my Kathey to speak tonight.
I'm Kathey Grodi, and I'm a retired CPA who is a mortgage loan officer. I specialize in reverse. I do the traditional loans also, and I'm dipping my toe into the short sale business with Manning.
David Thompson, Nashville, Tennessee, a realtor with Cottage Realty, which is located in Wilson County, but I've lived in Brentwood and worked all the surrounding counties.
Tom Litz, I'm with VXP Realty. That's about it.
And a great cook, we heard.
Yeah, Burger Man.
From New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Cox, I am with Republic State Mortgage. I am the mortgage trainer for the Green Network, and do a little buying and sell and flipping on my own with Steve and the guys. So welcome, everybody, and good to see you. This is a guest of mine, Chad.
First timer.
Yeah.
Yay, Chad.
Took the training wheels off.
Throw it out there.
Local investor. Have a handful of projects going of my own. Then I also build, licensed GC, so I build for investors as well.
Right.
So.
That's everybody. That's everybody, Doc.
Well, thank you, and welcome to everyone. Like I said, it's a little strange welcoming you from hundreds of miles away, but I do so anyway. I always enjoy being part of these meetings, and I'll certainly look forward to tonight's talk. Our speaker, as you already heard, is Kathey Grodi, and she's going to be speaking about credit scores. And Kathey, just so you know, Kathey sent me her notes that you already see the first page, or should see the first page, up on the presentation board. What I did is I broke them up into separate slides for you, Kathey. So there's now the 12 points that are going to follow this slide are actually broken up into 3 points each for 4 slides. So that way we'll be able to see them a little bit better. But Kathey, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome you to come on up and take the podium.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Yay! Thanks, guys, for coming. I think this slide is very, very interesting. I don't know if you can see it. You don't have it. I didn't hand this out. But it's the credit scores by age. And here is what I consider the greatest generation, World War II generation. And then you're coming into the baby boomers here, a little bit of this here. So you see this pink line, and the peak is a 7, it looks like 780, it's hard to read it, 780 or better. So you can see how highly, you know, someone over 60 values their credit score. And then, as you see, the pink line goes down, you know. So that's basically a pictorial. I'm a visual learner, so that's a visual image of the Gen X's and the, you know, millennials.
You want questions at the
Sure. No, questions during the time. Sure.
Now, that's today,
Uh-huh.
and you know the concept of credit as we have it in America,
Uh-huh.
you know, credit cards and everything else, it's not that old of a concept.
Right.
Does it follow the same trend, or is this just a, you know, so could you go back 10 years and this was the same thing that, like, because I know in my 20s I took out a credit card for college just so I could get a bag of peanut M&Ms because I was hungry.
Right. A lot of college
So is
graduates,
it
yeah.
Young and dumb, old
Yeah.
and older and wiser. Do you think that's been a consistent
Did you ever
trend?
get those peanuts paid off?
I paid that off with my student loan.
I think it has to do with the beginning of credit. You know, in the 18 and 1900s, they didn't even have. We had a farm and a farmer, and you walked into a bank, and he knew you, knew your family, knew your crops, and that was kind of how credit started. And in the 50s and 60s, we had a welcome wagon lady that once you moved into a town, she'd get some information on you and hand it to local bureaus that would gather their own little information in that town. And then in 1960, we started getting nationwide. It started sharing information across state lines. I think it was about I'm going to throw a dart, 1990, I had a guy with a real low credit score, and he goes, yeah, but that was in Florida. That happened in Florida. And this was in 1990. I'm like, well, we share information across state lines. So 1960, they started putting these things together and creating the mathematical score, that you will, on what you do. And in 1971, they enacted fair credit laws to try to protect people. It wasn't until 1989 that the FICO score really took a hold of all the lenders, and all the lenders started using them, basically. But amazing to me, it was May of 2000, and California was the first state that passed this, until we had to tell you your score. So from 1989, we had a score on you, to 2000, but we didn't have to tell it to you. I think that's amazing. And that was the first state that passed that bill. But basically, it's just what I tell people about credit is, it's like you went to a gym, okay, a credit gym, and we want to see your muscle, okay, because they're never going to lay eyes on you. So how do you manage paying your bills? Are you on time? Do you have too much debt? Do you charge too much as opposed to the balance that's available to you? Just your credit muscle, because the underwriter has got less than an hour, and they're looking at that score. And basically, that's a quick and easy way to not discriminate against anyone. And if the information is correct, then it's an easy way to make a decision on somebody. Over the national average, let's guess. Let's have interaction here. What do you think the national average for a credit score is?
Tell me, what's the range?
Okay, the range is 280 to 850. That's a very good guess. Anybody else?
682.
Okay, that's close.
$1.
673 is the national average of all 50 states. Okay, and Tennessee is 666. That's the average of every Tennessean. Yeah. The lowest state, anybody can guess what the credit score in the lower state? I'll tell you the score. 642 is the lowest. Mississippi. Very good. Anybody guess the highest state? Credit with the highest state?
Connecticut.
No.
New Hampshire.
Think cold. These people don't spend credit. Minnesota. 707, Minnesota. So that's their state average. So I think that's pretty interesting. And then a breakdown, and then we'll get into our one page. A breakdown of your score. If you think of 100%, 35% of it is paying on time, punctuality. Doesn't matter if your debt is $10 to Capital One or whatever. If you pay it on time, that's 35% of your score. 30% of it is how much have you charged if it's a revolving versus the ratio of the balance to your total available. That is 30%. 15% is your credit history. If you've only had credit a month or you've had credit 70 months, so how long you've had credit history on each account or in total. 10%. I tell people the optimal credit score is 3 accounts. So less than 3, you're going to have a worse score. More than 3, you're going to have worse score. And they want 3 specific accounts. They want 1 mortgage, 1 installment, and 1 revolving. Okay? So when you have 2 revolving and no mortgage, 1 installment, your score could be less than somebody that has one of the 3 types. And then 10% of your score is new debt, recent new debt or recent inquiries. That's 10% of what makes up. That's what FICO says the score is made up of. That's how they come up with the algorithm to do your score. So just to give you a little example, and then we'll do our page that I handed out. If you have less than 580 on a mortgage, your score is less than 580. You can be worked through. It depends on what kind of loan you're getting. You have maybe a 10% chance of getting a loan if your score is less than 580. So 580 to 620, you have between 580 and 620, you have about a 75% chance of getting a loan, depending on why it's that low. Because if you have a 700 and it's got a thing that you can't explain, extenuating circumstances, you're still not going to get as high a approval rate. A 621 to 680 is pretty normal in America, and you have a 90% chance of getting a mortgage loan approved, okay? After 681, you're getting 681 to about 720. Sometimes it's higher than that. You're getting an A rating, an A rate, but you're not getting the best rate, but you're getting a good rate, and you have about 100% chance of getting a loan if you have more than 680, depending on what's on your score. And then after 720, you're getting the best rate. You should get the best rate in the market after 720. So in my 25 years, I've seen over 800 maybe 10 times. So a lot of people are in that 700 zone. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the handout. And please, if you have any questions, what I try to do is just not dumb it down, but that's the best way I can come up with is what ways to improve. If you handed this out, how can someone improve their credit score? And there's a lot of these tricks that people don't even think about or know. Okay. The first best trick is every time you apply for credit, print very clearly and apply the exact same way. So if your name is James, use James. Don't use Jim on 15 of them. Okay. If you have a junior, use junior every time. If you have a middle initial, use that every time. So the more consistent you can be on how you apply for credit. If you're standing at the Gap store and she says, do you want 10% off? You're applying for credit on her cash register. So be sure she takes her time and types it in right. Even if your name is David and she types it D-A-V-E-D one time and misspells it, that's another derivation of your name. So that can hurt your score. So every different thing, your address has to be the same. If you have recently moved, if you're and you're buying something, use your old address. Use the one you've applied for credit for before. Okay, if it's been like within 30 days or a month. So you want it to be as consistent as normal because the variations start the algorithm. Okay. Pay bills on time. That sounds pretty easy, but just if you're late on your electric, be late on your electric, not on something that's on a credit report because electric's not on the credit report. Be late on insurance. That's not on the credit report. You know. So that minimum payment is very, very critical. I'm a big proponent for automatic draft payments on if you have a Capital One or whatever you've got and that payment's $10, automatic draft it. So you don't ever forget to pay a $10 payment because it can really hurt you. If you are late on a mortgage payment, that next month it could hit 100 points. I've seen it happen. 100 points lower. If you're late on an installment, it's going to hit about 50 points. If you're late on a revolving, it's between 0 and 50. That'll hit you the next month because you were recently late on something. Okay? Keep the balances. This percentage used to be 50%. Okay? In 2018, really in 2017, it went to 40%. So if you have a $1,000 line on your credit card, don't charge $401. Yes.
Does that apply? I mean, I'm getting booked on I need to get an airlines card.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a friend that went to Scotland, a client actually went to Scotland. The airline paid for, I just use my card.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the, running it up and paying it off? If I'm getting ahead here in your presentation, let me know.
No, you're fine.
They've got that $1,000 limit. They'll charge $999. But they're paying it off because they're charging everything to get the points.
But it froze at a balance. Okay, month in, it froze at a balance before you paid it off because it always does that in the cycle. Okay. So if you can charge it and pay it off within a cycle before it ends the cycle, you're fine. Most people don't do that. Most people charge it, wait till they get their statement. Well, then, if you charge $999 on $1,000 line, what do you think that did to your score that month?
99.9%
yeah.
of my credit limit. Okay.
Right. So
in reality, if you're not planning to apply for a major purchase, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
But if you're saying in 3 months, you want to start house shopping, and that's when you really need to put your financial
and get everything paid under 40%.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is,
but when you're just living your life, it's your score is going to be this.
Yeah.
But who cares?
It's like a heartbeat. I tell people just like a heartbeat at the it's going to go up and down. Sure. And I tell people if you have a $1,000 credit line and you need something at Home Depot or something that's going to be $570, go open another account somewhere and split it. And you'd be better off having 2 revolving lines for the $570 than you would all charging it on one line above the 40%. Okay? So check your limits. This a lot of people don't know. You ought to check you go to the dentist twice a year, that's when you ought to check your credit twice a year. Every day, every time you go to the dentist, check your credit. Okay? So a lot of people don't know that there are errors on your report. If you have a Lowe's card and it's running across that line and it doesn't have a high credit on it, the computer thinks you're maxed out. The computer thinks your balance is your high. So now, what do you think that did to your score? You need to check your credit to make sure it's reporting correctly. So if you have a Chase card and you have a high credit of $5,000, you need to pull your credit twice a year and make sure it's still showing $5,000 as a high. Okay? Because that high credit, the ratio between the balance and the high credit is hitting your score, is hurting your score. And there are many cards that you got data input, girl, and you just forgot to put it on that block. So they don't have anything. It's just 0, right? And then your balance is $2,000. So automatically that algorithm thinks you're at your limit. Okay, so you don't want that. So be sure. And if you, like we go back to, you want to buy $576 worth of something, and you got a $1,000 card, call and increase the limit to $2,000. Then you can charge it all on that one card. Okay? But make sure it's increased, Okay, so in moderation, open new credit in moderation. And that, I can't stress that enough. There's a lot of your household income, annual income, and your high credit shouldn't be too different. Okay, so if you add all your high credits up, if you make $90,000 a year, your high credit should be somewhere around $50,000 a year. Don't get $90,000 worth of high credit. Okay, that matches your income.
So does that also mean just because you have it available, maybe you should have closed accounts?
Well, people ask me that all the time about closing accounts. Close the youngest accounts because you want to keep the good ones with a whole bunch of months and never been late open. So be careful about closing accounts. You want to always have 3. So yes, you would want to close accounts, but do it carefully, and do it the ones that are the youngest. You need a healthy mix. You don't need all revolving, and no installment, no mortgage. Let's see. Keep enough open at all times.
Installment's like a car, right?
Yeah.
And we know exactly how many months that it's paid
It can
off.
be a furniture, it can be anything. And installment, it's so funny because the algorithm doesn't penalize you anything. So you can go buy furniture for $5,000 and owe $5,000. It's not penalizing you on that. They tell me on an installment, it's a different animal. And on a mortgage, it's a different animal. It's not looking at the percentage of what your balance is to your high credit. Monitor them. Be careful about co-signing and being an authorized signer, because you can be an authorized signer on someone's account and you're late. It's going to ding your credit. It's going to hurt your credit, even if you're just an authorized signer, not a joint account. And I would tell people, if you've got an old JCPenney that's open, it's never been late, you do need to, once every 12 months, you need to charge something on it, let it revolve with a balance, an ending balance. Keep it open because it's gold. It's helping your score. Okay. Get rid of late payments. You can absolutely get rid of late payments if they're not yours, or if they're there's a whole bunch of information on that. And then the disputing of the collections. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't even know they have a collection on their credit until they want to borrow money. And so if you haven't gotten a 30-day letter, they have to remove it. If they can't prove you signed for a 30-day letter, they have to remove the collection off of your account.
Is that electronic or?
Is what the letter? The letter is via mail. They have to prove they mailed you a letter and you received it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's a 30, when you say 30-day letter?
It's kind of in the industry is we're getting ready to put a collection on your credit so that you have 30 days to pay this. So it's a 30-day notice letter about an upcoming collection.
I got all kinds of things I can dispute now.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you can get things as they age, get them off. I will tell you, a lot of people think this, if you have a collection or a judgment with a dollar amount assigned to it, until it's zero, it's not falling off. Okay, a lot of people think everything falls off every 7 years, and they don't. If it has the balance on it, it won't fall off. So you have to satisfy it.
Never falls off.
If it has a balance assigned to it, and they want to keep paying to record it, because they have to keep paying to record it. Okay? So, and I do say to review your credit at least 60 to 90 days before you're going to buy something. Yes?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Like the collection.
Mm-hmm.
My question would be how do collection agencies, let's say that you with T-Mobile, right? I mean T-Mobile Bank, I'm just using that.
Sure.
And you default on whatever services you have to pay, and you're unable to pay them. And they say, hey, we're gonna, they end up selling it to another company or whatever might be the case, and that company will start calling you out the blue and all that. And then after a while, that company stops calling, then they sell it to another company. How do you prohibit that? Because I'm thinking that you get being on each one that you do. Like, for example, my fiance, wife, she paid off, the last person who was sold to, but the company prior to that is still showing on a credit report. So I was wondering how were they able to keep reflecting it. Like she was able to get the payoff.
It's an error. They should be taking it off. And that's when I tell people, if you settle a judgment or settle a collection, you keep that receipt for your life, because it can show back up, and then you just show them your paid receipt. So what she needs to do is just send it into all 3 national bureaus and say, this is the trail, and this is the original debt, and this is my receipt, I paid it off. And they have to take it off. But it doesn't actually hurt your credit. If you have T-Mobile and it's a line, and then they sell it to a collection company, then T-Mobile will have a zero balance and transfer to a collection. Then the collection company has the balance. And then they sell it to a second collection company. This one, in theory, should have a zero balance and transfer to sold to, and it'll show the company that has it now. But you should, and that's why there's companies in America that make a living on cleaning people's credit, because so many people, you know, it goes through so many, especially medical collection, it goes through so many hands that the person could have actually paid the debt, and it's just been sold and sold and sold.
He said, if you know anybody who has good credit in your family, this was many years ago, and I was like, I'm just glad to get this over here. And he was like, well, one way you can boost it is have your name put on their
authorized account.
Sure. Boost your credit score. Sure. But I don't know if you can actually do that or not.
Absolutely do that. And a lot of people straight out of college, or you know, getting their first house or getting their first car. Okay, you know, that's one of the things is I talk to them and say, you have a relative, your mom or dad, that would help you, you know, put you on a Home Depot go. And I always do try to tell them to go on the low, the cards with a very low balance. You know, a Capital One card with a $250 high. You know, don't get too much in trouble here, and just be an authorized signer. And I do tell both the person trying to apply for the loan that doesn't have the credit score and the parent that whoever does, you know, if the parent didn't pay the Home Depot card, you are now responsible to pay that payment. So, you know, basically, you're both responsible then.
So if I authorized just picking Home Depot, I don't see one of my 3 daughters going, great, a socket set.
Right.
But if I'm there using it, it's helping her?
It's helping her.
It doesn't have to be the charges that she does.
It doesn't have to be her charges at all.
Okay.
And the thing I would want to remind both of you is that both of you need to, you know, make sure the other one's paying the payment. One of you is paying the payment. Because if you become an authorized signer and you're this young person that's trying to build your credit, you could be responsible for that payment. Or if the person went and charged $1,000, you could be responsible for her.
Is it up to the revolving from Capital One you see on TV?
Pretty much.
I can say, haha, you want to be an authorized signer on my card? She goes, sure, I'd love a $200 balance.
Sure.
I mean, you can add anybody?
You can add anybody. They don't have to around it. Yeah. But, you know, you're taking a risk.
Well, yeah, I'm just...
Because she would have access, like, without even a card. A lot of parents think, well, I'll put my child in the card and I just want to own the account. Well, they can walk into Lowe's and, you know, I lost my card and charge it all. You know, it's just like a joint checking account.
No wonder I got such great Christmas presents.
Yeah, could be.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Back up to a couple things here.
Sure.
When you're talking about resolving mortgage and then an installment.
Right.
I have, of the credit cards I really don't use them.
Right.
I pay cash for everything.
Right.
I do have a mortgage. So the second question is also going to apply to, you were mentioning, I mean, I have some cards that I don't even know if it's been used in the last 5 years. So you're saying, would it be worth, one of the questions is it worth not paying cash for something to say it's a 0% for this, the day on your credit when they run it? Is that worth the trade out for the growth that you get for having that third?
Right. Well, the thing I look at is you never know when you're going to need a score. I'm a Dave Ramsey graduate. You never know when you're going to need a score. Cash is great, but you never know when you're going to need to apply for a loan, or you're walking in.
And mine went to NA.
Yeah.
Read NA from my report.
Right. So you really need. I disagree with you that you don't need a credit score. You walk into a hospital, you need a credit score. You try to buy insurance, you need a credit score.
I was going to say there's many other things that even though it's a soft pull. And in my world, insurance scores. You have twins who bought the same house, live next door to each other. Everything's the same, but one's in the 7s, and I don't actually get to see the actual score, but we can tell.
Sure.
You know, because the companies tier things certain ways, and if you don't get a certain tier, we just know your credit sucks, and you're getting this rate.
I got it back on. You know, I had to start with 5 or 6 years ago with just a credit card tied to your bank account. It's back up, I mean, to a respectable level easily. So So that was my question. Like, I'm always looking at ways to, you know.
So I see that as a hedge,
Tip to
is
800.
always having a good score, whether you use it or not. You have
Because
to.
I've noticed that where mine is, it kind of just idle. You know, I'm sitting in the upper 7, but it won't tip the 800. But I don't have that middle one you were talking about. And also, like I said, I've got 5 years of cars that just will sit that I don't use.
And they might, I was going to say, that's why I'm telling you to check your credit twice a year, because they might have already been closed. You don't have those accounts anymore. Because after inactivity, they'll say creditor closed it for inactivity. It's not open anymore. Because they don't want those all out there. And your expiration on the card itself is probably gone. So they may or may not be open. But what I'm saying is,
so that would increase score, just if you say even doing one purchase first and paying it off, not paying interest.
Sure.
It just shows activity.
Sure. But you need to let it in the cycle, because you can pay it off, but you got to let it in the cycle, because a lot of people charge it and pay it the same month because they don't want any interest at all.
That's what I was.
Yeah, and so it didn't end the cycle, so it ends with zero. Started with zero and with zero.
Gotcha.
FICO modeling, I'm not mistaken, there's positive points and negative points, and you want to have a certain number of trade lines.
3.
That's what I say, 3. But you want a balance. You have positive points for payments, but you can have some negative points for a balance over 50%.
40 now. 40.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, 40%.
And I remember the most positive points for less than a certain percentage of your maximum balance. So you actually carry a balance, you're saying it's 40% now?
It is.
Okay, so you want to technically have a balance that you carry, make consistent payments upon at 40% or less. You don't want to go above that.
Right.
And then you can get large negative points for exceeding your balance on a credit card.
41% hurting.
Yeah.
But just like I said,
Even
it's the
though
credit muscle.
But there are greater positive points from paying on time.
Sure.
But that 1% over is actually a negative.
It is.
Or less of a positive, I should say. Yeah.
And what I explain to people on the collection, if your collection is $19 and you've got $19, you want to wipe it out because you think your score is going to go up. Credit is just like you're on a roller coaster. You're in a car, and that collection's in this car, and there's a hill up here that you're going to go. Right here is where your score is, and right here is where that collection is. If you touch a negative account, which is a judgment, a collection, anything, if you do anything to pay that off, that car's going down. It's going down for about a month. It's going to go back up higher than it was when you started. But within 30 to 60 days, you have recent activity on a negative account, even if you're paying it off. So a lot of people don't understand, I paid that collection off, So I try to make that very, very clear that in the next 30 to 60 days, you're going to go down in the car. And then they'll come back up higher. So a lot of collections in the mortgage industry, if it is tied to a medical bill, don't touch it, okay? I haven't had an underwriter in 10 years tell me I had to do that, So you just have to, they are now realizing the medical issues of collection, because a lot of hospitals send them straight to collection the day you get out of the hospital. They don't even try to collect them.
It's better just to write an explanation.
Right. Yeah. And do nothing, don't be doing any activity on something until you have to do it.
And didn't they just pull tax liens from the modeling? They pulled it out?
They did pull tax liens from the modeling, but we're required to go another route and look for tax liens. So there's another route that we're going.
The other problem with the medical is you get cycle billing.
Absolutely.
And you get a bill and you pay it, and you get another bill and the amount is different.
Mm-hmm.
So you think it's a different bill and you pay it, and now you paid a duplicate and you've overpaid.
Mm-hmm.
So to combat that, you wait for an extra cycle, and now, as you say, you could be subject to a
one
collection.
time over 30 days late, or a collection.
A collection, because you're waiting for everything to zero out. Just had that recently with my wife, and we waited. She got a refund. Okay, so the next one we waited longer and got a phone call.
And your Part B Medicare, I'm not a Medicare expert, but your Part B is going to a collection if you don't pay it. So I see that all the time with seniors because they're not paying their part. I had a lady do an MRI. It was $2,500 for the MRI. Her part was $98. It's on her credit as a collection because she didn't pay the $98. So that, you know, it harms her score. Did you learn anything you didn't already know before tonight? That's always my push. Because, you know, it's not a finite science. It is an ongoing. And, you know, I do tell people I'm starting to dip my toe into short selling and helping people. It is a temporary situation. If this is your situation and you're going to go this route, you're on the roller coaster and your score is going to go down. But it'll eventually come back up because you'll be relieved of that debt. And it'll be full and final settlement. So, you know, there are situations where, you know, you just can't look at your daily score and fixate on that. You've got to think of it long term. Well, it's going to be what it was before you started and what it is when you get through with the procedure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kathy. Steve, would you like to take the podium?
Sure, why not? We can't see him.
Yeah.
It's camouflage.
I know. I saw the camo.
Closed on got caught in traffic, closed on a piece of land, and bought it for 60, killed 5 deer, and sold it for 130.
Yeah.
So we're having venison next week.
Yeah.
We got lots of deer meat.
Yeah.
For those of you who are animal lovers, I apologize. It's some of the healthiest food on the planet. So. Sure. She's like, no, don't kill Bambi, please. Yeah. So yeah, I apologize, but got caught a little bit. But so no, always conversations about credit are always interesting because you know credit is it's a little bit of a casino, and that's the way leverage works. If you leverage correctly, you're still gambling. So you can do the Dave Ramsey thing. People who get really, really rich will generally tell you that they've engaged in some form of leverage, and they do it with long-term debt at a low interest rate when you can secure that debt on good property. If you're a good manager and you can acquire more and more property, that's generally the ticket to wealth in America. Dave Ramsey did it. He just got caught in 86 tax reform. So he took the slow path after that, and it's become, because he's a uniquely intelligent human being and uniquely capable, became very wealthy with his message, which is probably the appropriate message for most people. And I actually conform to some of the same standards. I believe that you should have a lot of cash and shouldn't go cowboy, because I went cowboy 10 years ago. I got popped, as did a few of us. I don't know everybody's story, but you know, when you make $5 million, then you borrow $10 million. It doesn't work. When everything comes to a screeching halt, things change, and so that's what happened to us back in 07 and 08 when we were developing land. They wouldn't let us build anymore. They wouldn't let builders get loans to build new properties. So you're sitting with developments that have, you know, millions and millions of dollars worth of debt, and then nobody can put out new products, and then everything just gets caught. So I subscribe to the philosophy to a certain degree of not necessarily leveraging too much, but just like you mentioned, when you're buying insurance, you're going to run your credit score. When you go and turn on the power somewhere, you're going to run your credit score. You got to put a deposit down, so it costs you more money to do business without a credit score. So it's good to intelligently manage your credit score, even if, and I generally do stuff with cash. So I haven't borrowed. Well, we borrow, but in a short-term sense, on a project-by-project basis. I don't carry long-term debt on anything, just because I'm sensitive to it. So, but on average, if you're like Dave Ramsey, I think he says, if you're buying a home, you're going to live in it, 20% down, all your numbers work. That makes sense. That's what you do, but put at least 20% down. So credit's always a good conversation. Anyway, I actually see. Did you guys do a quick round robin? Okay.
Yeah, we introduced ourselves.
That's it.
We didn't talk about any deals or opportunities.
All right. Does anybody have any deals or opportunities? Larry, you've got one. Did you start in Hendersonville?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I'm just asking you. I thought you might have sold it.
Are you buying that 70 acres?
Well, I guess we have a house in Hendersonville.
Okay.
On the drive.
Well, I didn't know if you sold it yet. So.
Well, I haven't heard. Have I sold it?
Yeah. All right. Gotcha. I didn't know that yet.
Too much on a plate.
Yeah, you're
So, I don't know everyone here. My name's Steve Chasen. I'm one of the founders of Green. Basically, we come here and we meet, talk about real estate once a week. We also have an online training program, education, a little more intense for the people that want to be a part of it. It's $109 a month. It's also a network marketing company, so you can bring your friends. And we're starting a nationwide launch. We've hired a membership director, and it's something we're pretty excited about. We're going to start expanding into different cities. If any of you guys want to talk to me a little bit more about that, I'm glad to have the conversation. We can get into it. We're not into too much like hype or overselling or pitching. We just like to get in and talk real estate. But if any of you guys, I don't know, like, I haven't met everyone here. I see a couple of faces I've seen before that I know, but I don't know exactly where I've seen everybody. We try to get together, partner up on deals sometimes. If obviously, any club that you go to, they're going to do the same thing. But we've got a really active group here that had some guys that have done some nice wholesale deals and meeting people within this group. Dr. Andrea Molinari is our director of education. He's in West Palm Beach, Florida. Andrea? He runs the show, keeps our online component of the education moving smoothly. And other than that, that's about it. Excited to sell my land. So had a lot of walking to do today. But,
Where was it at?
it's in Charlotte. Bought 40 acres it was actually an estate auction. And it was an out parcel, but bought it right and sold it right. So that's, it's a little bit of a risk. Anytime you deal with land, it can be a long play. So, but when it's that cheap, I had some nice deer hunting came with it, so that's all right.
Well, you had to inspect it, I'm sure.
There's only so much inspection.
Is that where you found the deer?
Yeah, there's deer crawling all over the place. So. Charlotte, it's God's country. It's a beautiful area, gorgeous up there. So.
Just before Christmas, I bumped the deer on Antioch Pike right over here.
Yeah, I guess they don't have too many places to go. So
I'm driving down. There's still daylight about 3:30 in the afternoon. And came out from nowhere, but he spun flat.
Oh, you hit it. Oh, when you say bumped it, I think it bumped it like walking. Okay.
No.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it survived?
Stephanie.
Oh, they ran off.
Did you guys have any questions about Green or any? Field some questions. Yeah.
Dubai. One. Yeah. So he's
vet and ready to move right away.
Will he build it?
I don't know.
I've got 5 acres on. It's
a good area. Yeah,
it's a great area.
I'll talk to him about it.
That's a client of yours, or
yeah, client. It's a client.
Yeah, it's super hard to find anything with any.
He may have to go out toward Watertown or something like that. But and I've got a guy looking for a 3,000 square feet commercial, preferably in the Hermitage area, storefront, like an old mighty shop. Yeah.
What's his?
He's a new client. He just gave him the dimensions of what he wants. I don't know.
Okay. Is it retail?
Retail, yeah.
Okay. To purchase or rent?
Purchase. Yeah, just to buy.
That's a little bit of a tough bill too, because Hermitage doesn't have a whole lot of commercial retail. That's right. I mean, it's out there, but I don't know of anything off the top of my head. Keep that in mind. If you have a card or something I can get back, it depends on what the purpose is for that. If it's like a CrossFit box or a actual restaurant, there's so many different things. Office/retail. So it could be like medical, dental. I mean, a lot of different angles you can go with that. So.
Yeah, I wish I had more info on the state of the dimensions area.
Okay.
I just actually got it today. So.
Okay. All right. Any other deals out there?
While we're here, I was asked last week by a friend of mine that's an agent looking for a body shop or used or a old car dealership.
I got a body shop in Clarksville.
Yeah, they want to work here in Nashville. And like I told them, they just don't come up that often.
Yeah,
they want an old body shop. He wants it for a body shop. So he wants to buy a body shop. I said he needs to look at other things that he could
transform,
build out to a body shop. He'll have better luck doing that.
Yeah, look. If you're in the buying game right now, good luck, because it's just if you can buy low, that's fine. But it's the entry points change. I mean, there's not. If I'm making a long-term play for a business, I'm not buying anything right now. It's not. It's virtually impossible to find what you need for. Not that it doesn't come up, but we could all sit here for years looking for exactly what we want and not find it. Yeah, so I just wait till the next scratch, and it's going to come, and then we all make more money. Because it comes eventually, but that's a tough bill right there.
Yeah, that's why I told the gentleman. I don't know what the regulations are opening up the body shop, but chemicals and but find out what those regulations are, and then go find a building that you can build out.
I mean, I've got a friend that does a lot of commercial stuff in southeast Nashville and Rutherford County. I can check on it if you update me on the information, but it's not just going to jump at you at the price you want. So.
That's why I wasn't too interested in helping them.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I don't know where you buy and home investors do. For any rental property.
Always depends on maybe
any area.
Possibly price, location.
It's right off of Village Gate. It's in,
Piccadilly
subdivision, and still working, negotiating with the lender right now, but I'll probably have it available in a couple of weeks. Still working on price, but it's over 2,000 square feet. All the floors on the top floor, and then
basement.
The previous owner had a basement renovated into a 2-bedroom studio.
Okay.
So overall, 5 bedrooms, 3 baths. Billingsgate, yeah. I don't have a price yet, but I'm just looking for.
Is it on Billingsgate?
Yes, it's on Billingsgate.
So you're looking for a buy and hold?
Yeah, it'd be a better fit for buy and hold. The previous owner was, I don't know if it's legal or not, but he was renting the top floor for 2,000. I had someone in the little efficiency space in the basement renting it for $700. He was.
You got 2,000 out of the top floor. It must be that's a pretty nice place over there.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Okay.
Very nice. I think he's a very named chef. So that's some buyers behind. I'm working on negotiating with related on the payout right now. So,
built in the 80s.
Yeah. 86. Big house. Nice house.
I'm always interested in taking a peek at it. I don't hold myself, but that's what I don't. You used to be able to buy that house for $125,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
But
I think the number I'll be willing to
then yes, I'm very interested in that. I'm interested. So, at that price, yeah, absolutely. And that's ballpark. I mean, in today's market. But yeah, it's we all want to wait for the next crash.
Yeah, no, it's
before buying anything to hold. Or I mean, obviously, people continue to purchase, in certain areas, concentric circles, close to downtown, development growth areas. That all made sense. Brentwood wasn't going down. Mount Juliet wasn't going down. Franklin wasn't going down. Hendersonville is not going down. But places are going to get caught, that pop up too much, or so. It's we're in a tough market to buy. There's always deals. It just depends on how attached you are. If you're boots to the ground, if you're out there every day pounding it. But like anything, for those of us who are investors, this is a constant thing. Okay, so you're like a Venus flytrap. All right, one comes across your plate, and you have to be ready. You have to be opportunistic. You have to know what it's worth, and then you go grab it. Because they still happen in a market like this. It's just so difficult to find the traditional old school cash flow model. I mean, the first property I bought, was 22 years old at Florida State. I bought a fourplex. I was getting $450 a month. Had a roommate, $450 a month per door, and it was $110,000. A mile from campus. Like that made sense. You can't find anything like that in these kind of markets that we have right now. And then I bought fourplex next door a year later. That stuff, that kind of cash flow, it's just very, very difficult to find. And you used to be able to find it in the rougher areas, but it's there's stuff that still works, but you just have to be a little more creative. You have to, there may be a development piece, or you got to split things up, or there's other creative things that you have to do to properties these days to make them make money, or you have to be out there seeing more and more stuff. So, but at face value, what you tell me, I like that one. So, yeah, definitely. I don't know if you have cards. Everybody has cards. Pass them around. So anyway,
my house is going up for sale soon.
Where's your house?
East Nashville. I guess you would call it the northwest corner between Dickerson and Trinity.
Okay, you gonna let her listen?
What's that?
She's a listing animal.
She already just hit me up. But
okay, yeah.
The
she might slash your tire if you don't list it with her.
Yeah.
No.
Might do more than that.
Yeah.
But glad that's why I'm throwing, and it won't be ready till mid-March, but I'll come back and mention it again and the progress. We're adding a whole second story on it.
Are you in like one of the Phillips subdivisions up there? When you said Dickerson and Trent, what?
It's off of Jones, your Tom Joy.
Okay.
So between Ellington, Trinity, and Dickerson. Queen, Duke, Prince.
Yeah.
Those areas just got rezoned. So they're tearing them down like crazy, putting up, all the different tall skinnies and other types.
And do you have an R6?
My street didn't get rezoned.
It's not R6. It's a RS zoning.
Correct.
Single family zoning. Okay.
Correct. So it's the realtor who helped me find the house, and it's my oldest, meaning longevity, person I've known the longest in Tennessee. So she and her husband and I are partnering as far as the finances and wherewithal to add a second story, et cetera. It'll be up for sale hopefully mid-March. So just for the real, bring a buyer.
Who's the realtor?
What's that?
Who's the realtor?
Her name's Janie Parks. It was Janie Glover. She lives in Murfreesboro.
Rings about. Okay.
Yeah. No, but
What's the end ABV taking it?
well, we're hoping to sell it for about $350, and then it's going from about 1,100 square feet to.
You gonna double it?
Close. I mean, because it's one of those little World War II asbestos boxes.
Yeah. Baby boomer box.
Yeah. And early bay. It's built in 48.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going straight up another story. The extension off the back is almost done. That's staying the same. It's 24 by 12. But yeah, so we're going up. Nice. So it'll be a bigger home, yard. Just you can't put two on it. But you'll have elbow room. The house next to it's been completely remodeled about 5-6 years ago. The couple lives there. And so Jones Circle is coming along. There's been a tear down and build.
Mm-hmm.
Some other smaller remodels going. And with everything, I mean, I can see them. I can throw a baseball and hit all the new ones.
Yeah.
But so we're looking hopefully to hit 350, 325 to 350 at the end. And it'll be lots of room.
Okay.
So just starting now, just people want to kind of I'm 4 minutes from the interstate. So when I say East Nashville, it's not way back by the river. It takes you 20 minutes to get to the interstate. It takes you about 8 minutes to get to 5 Points. That's East Nashville. That's where you're friendly with people.
Yeah.
We have a question.
That's a hot area right there.
Yeah, and as far as like East Nashville, it does have its core area up near 5 Points, near the park and everything. But this is there's still there's a lot of other deals to be probably had up there. The house, 2 houses down from me, has been vacant for 6 years. It finally just sold, just tied up with Bank of America and foreclosure and stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
So. Just throwing that out, just starting, bringing a buyer from the realtors.
How many bedrooms?
It'll be a 5-3 when we're done, or office or something. That's what I think.
I think 5-3 is kind of overkill for.
Well, we're just going straight up.
Okay.
So it's got 4 rooms downstairs. Now the way it's laid out, so opening up the bottom floor.
Good enough at 2.5.
Could be office or something like that, but that's what I think it's gonna be. They keep telling me, I'm like, just do it. That's because when it's sold, I get a dollar amount. They're taking the high end chance on it. I get a check.
Yeah.
And then when it's done,
as long as you get more than you would get from selling it like it is right now, then come out ahead.
Yeah, a bit more.
Yeah.
And then also, profit isn't just measured in dollars and cents.
Yeah, that's true.
It's one of my very best friends, their profits, helping them pay off, speaking of debts.
Sure.
And then from there, I'll have somewhere in the 50 to 70. If I sold it today, I might make 30, 40.
Mm-hmm.
This way I'll have about 50, 70.
Yeah.
And then I'll be looking, partnering some deals or something. I'm going to definitely take the profit from that and reinvest. Nothing crazy. No, what did you call it? Cowboying.
Yeah.
70 grand's not a lot, but I'm not going to that sounds like a great deal. Take all my money.
No, it's not. It doesn't bother me to take the risk because, I'm not married and I don't have kids. So risking never bothered me. But when you go from having lots and lots of money to having none, then like it's more fun to have a lot of money. I know that sounds
I lived
crazy.
in my van for 6 months
Yeah,
once,
so
I had no money.
so I definitely have a different perspective, at least of debt and leverage. And so my perspective is my bank account needs to grow every month. So if I do leverage, it's on a project by project basis. I don't take long-term debt or stuff that if I can't see.
I think that's my tolerance in the property world. It would be
Yeah.
project development, whether it's land down the road. I know it's not a ton of money in this room, but I'll have a house for sale, bring a buyer, and
Yeah. There's a amount of money in this room. It's just they're going to be, they may be bottom feeders on the buying side. They're going to, like any investor, you want to buy the best deal you can. It may not be a retail market from that standpoint, but and obviously there's stuff that's short-term leasing, but that's a whole nother conversation as far as where you can take the property, as far as the permits you can get and so forth. But, let us know. Yeah. All right, cool. I've got a few houses for sale, but nothing that I would consider, unless somebody wants a manufactured home in Millersville, but I'm not too excited about that.
Is it on land?
5 acres. 60,000 if you want. It's trashed.
I don't want the house.
It's God's country. Now the land is it's real pretty up there, but it's Millersville, man.
I drove through there this weekend.
Yeah, it's a special kind of.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Like Harleys and.
I don't think Fleetwood has as many manufactured homes.
Yeah, it's definitely getting in touch with your blue collar roots up there. So it's
eventually
a pretty street.
I'd like to have about 10 acres for my own elbow room, but
Yeah. No,
I don't want to live.
We've got 10 acres. That's a good value. But it's in Greenbrier, a really good value.
That's not that far.
Yeah.
Got anything south? It was Alabama. Giles, Lawrence.
And when you find that, then you can find stuff in Lawrenceburg and Giles County for nothing. We've come across that dirt cheap.
Yeah, I know. I was at dinner. I almost said I might be a neighbor here soon.
Yeah,
because I'm interested in those northern plots, but I'd actually like to go south.
I've got one in Lawrenceburg right now.
Well, that's to come. So come April.
You have any big farms in Robertson County?
We've got 10 acres in Robertson. Farms.
More. 20 acres.
I could put my fingers on it, but it'd take a little while if you want. One of my buddies up there owns about 100 properties paid for, so he's pretty much in tune with everything that goes on up there. It's hard to find, really, really difficult to find. Those kind of, they just don't, and you can, it's price point too, obviously, that's a big question. I've had my eyes on a couple up there, but they don't just come every day. So I'd like to find one myself, actually, or some. I'd maybe Cheatham, maybe Wilson. My father's in Wilson County. Some with some land. It's extremely difficult in Davidson too. So, all right, guys. Thanks for coming, Kathy. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. And like I said, exchange cards. If you guys are interested in hearing more about green, talk to me or whoever.